All right, everyone, y'all ready? Everyone's ready? All right. I was actually surprised how many people are here. It actually makes me a little nervous. But yeah, I really appreciate it. I really do. So we are going to be talking about house hacking done right. My name is John Lee. I am a real estate investor. I am a realtor. I am also a second generation Korean. I'm very proud of that. I am very focused on my community as well as my local church. I have this up here because anyone can do real estate, all right? If you look right here, I actually scored below 1,000 on my SAT scores. So, like, culturally, it was actually pretty embarrassing because I had a lot of friends, people in my community that were going to really prestigious colleges, and it was really, really discouraging. And the early parts of my life, and even my career, it brought a lot of insecurity. So after college, or actually during college, I did pretty well. I got like cum laude or whatever, I got honors. And one would think that in college, you would actually get a high paying job, but that's my that's my taxes. So I think it says right here, $18,000. I made $18,000, guys. And it really just shows a lot about real estate and the power of real estate, because for me, the one thing that people couldn't take away from me was the mindset. So although I didn't make a lot of money, I always thought of how I can make a lot of money. And one of the ways was actually house hacking. All right? So raise your hands if you guys are house hacking. 1? 2? All right. Raise your hands if you know what house hacking is. All right, so I don't really have to explain it, do I? All right. But I will, because it's up here. House hacking is a real estate investment strategy where you earn rental income by renting out your primary residence. Can one of you guys give me an example of house hacking? A duplex. Airbnb, short term. Okay, yeah, duplex, short term. Yeah, you guys are all correct there. So, why house hack? So, guys, I didn't come from a lot of money. I gave you proof. I wasn't smart. I gave you proof, right? But it's a very low entry point. So if you are getting an FHA loan, first time home buyer, right? And anyone who's looking to buy your first house, house hack is the way to go. And the reason why is because it's a low down payment. If you look right here, my down payment for a $380,000 loan at the time was $22,000. Okay? I had to save up for that for a couple years. Other reason is you gain equity in a house hack very, 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 very quickly. All right? So my loan balance in 2018 was $380,000. My property now is worth $500,000. Okay? You can take that equity, you could do a cash out, you could do a HELOC, you can buy more investment properties. The other is by accident. So the reason why I got into house hacking was because I couldn't honestly afford, although I'm sure you guys know, the banks say you can afford a certain amount, right? But I really couldn't afford it. So I had to offset my costs by renting out one of the units. So I live in a duplex. I still live in a duplex. I live in a 1-bedroom unit with my wife, happily married, and upstairs is a 3-bedroom unit. This taught me the very hands-on approach of being a landlord, and I developed my skills very, very quickly. Numbers don't lie. If you look at my house hack numbers, my mortgage is $25.25, and my rent is $22.50. So I spend $275 to live in my house right now. Okay? With the house hack, I am saving myself over $2,000 a month, and that's over $20,000 a year. And honestly, that's with me passively doing this had propelled me to get into where I am today. So as of now, I'm probably around 17, 18 units. And that had propelled me in my first steps of being a landlord and then also being a real estate investor. The other thing is you are saving when others are spending. It's mindset. Once the mindset shifts, then real estate really opens a lot of doors and you are able to really see things in a different way. These are the pictures before. So I bought this house this was a foreclosed house. So this is a foreclosed house. It was $190,000. The rehab was $190,000. You guys are probably wondering how the hell did I get $190,000 to rehab? I did not have that. So what you have to do is there's a 203K loan, okay? And I'll explain that to you guys in a second. But the 203K loan allows you to do a renovation. It bakes into your loan. So 190 plus 190 is how much, guys? Simple math. 380. What was my loan balance? 380, right? This is what it looks like after. So, a 203K loan lets you purchase or refinance a fixer-upper and finance the needed repairs, all with a single loan and one monthly mortgage payment. The example that I gave was the purchase price and then also the renovation. So how does a 203K loan? So, you have to find an experienced lender. All right? When you talk with a lender, there's going to be a lender that will say they know how to do it, but they don't know how to do it, right? And there's going to be a lender that will steer you away from doing it because they don't know how to do it. Yes?
Will this presentation be available later?
So, at the end, I have a recording, by the way, guys. I will send you guys the recording. All you have to do is just text me your name, your email, and just say slides. And I will email you the slides and I'll email you the recording once it's up on YouTube. All right?
So you'll give us your number?
Yes. Please be nice. All right, but anyway, so you want to find an experienced lender, and the lender will really guide you into finding some of the other things below. Now, finding the subject property, it doesn't have to be, so in my case, it was a foreclosed home. It doesn't have to be a foreclosed home. It doesn't have to be anything like a foreclosed or REO type of home. If you're gonna do a 203K loan, most likely it does need work. And the 203 consultant, they're kind of bridging the gap between you and the contractor. The reason why they're hired is because naturally the mortgage company needs to protect themselves, so they are naturally protecting you, if that makes any sense. Lastly, I don't want to say lastly, but second to last, find a contractor. So when you find a contractor, this is probably the most important part. And if you guys want to talk to me later, like after, I can tell you my experiences with mine because it was pretty bad. But the contractor, they're important because not just the renovations, but if you think about it with the, what was I going to say? Oh my gosh, to the tongue. I was going to say something else.
Bad experience with the contractor.
Yeah, no, I had a bad experience, but I was going to say something else. Yeah, we'll come back to that in a second, but you definitely want to find an experienced agent, because with an experienced agent, they're definitely going to be able to walk you through each step, right? They're going to help you understand how to find a lender, how to find a subject property, and then also to walk you through each step. Now, with the contractor, now I remember. The contractor is important because they need to be able to upfront all of the costs. That's extremely important. They have to be licensed and they have to upfront all of the costs. Yes?
So I'm actually in the process of going through like 4 or 5 contractors, because a lot of them don't want to put their own money up front and get, wait for the draw from the bank. They expect you to still put down like a third.
Is that a 203K loan?
Yes, I'm having a hard time finding a contractor who's willing to work with the bank in this situation.
So that's why you gotta use a lender, because the lender works with specific types of contractors or at least can refer you to specific contractors, because they're notified by the contractors of when draws need to be given. So, the one thing that a lot of people think with 203K loans, or with, I don't want to say 203K loans, a lot of people think with house hacking is they think that you need to buy something at a lower price point, or a starter home, or a complete fixer-upper. This is actually a client of mine. My client bought $1 million home. So when you think of $1 million home, you think of luxury listing. This was not a luxury listing. This home, to most people, was overlooked because if you look right here, this was an office. This was an office for a chiropractic practice on one side. The other side was used as an in-law suite, and then right in the middle was obviously the residential unit. And what this person decided to do, my client decided to do, was on the side that was chiropractic, this side is used as short-term leasing for Airbnb. The other side, the in-law suite, was used as a long-term leasing. And right now, as of now, he's clearing his mortgage, just living there. $1 million property. This $1 million property right now, I'll probably assess it to almost $2 million. So, if you guys want to text, my number's there. Yeah, and if you want to email this cool little, I forgot what that was called, but yeah, QR code, yeah. QR code, and then I have a link tree there. So I am on social media. You guys can add me, you guys can follow me. I honestly wanted to use most of this time to answer questions because I'm sure you guys have a lot. So I'll open the floor. Yes.
Hi, Leslie here. So what do you recommend for people who don't want to go through the 203K loan and just buy like renovated property? Like, do you suggest going taking fixer-uppers compared to like the renovated properties, just to avoid like just going to like the renovation stage and things like that?
Can you ask that question again? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Like,
so buying like a renovated property, right?
Yeah.
Compared to buying like a fixer-upper, just to avoid going through that, taking that renovation loan. Like, what do you suggest, compared to some experiences you may have or certain stories you may have, that you may have?
yeah, you can buy, you're talking about a turnkey home, right? Like something that you could just walk into, you don't have to do much renovation,
Yeah.
if at all, right? No, so that's a good question. So as long as the numbers make sense to you,
Okay.
then it doesn't really make a difference. So for me, about 4 or 5 years ago when I first got into my house hack, I did it out of necessity because one of the things I didn't mention to you guys is if you guys are buying a foreclosed home or REO home or HomePath, HomePath.com, by the way, write it down, HomePath. HomePath, if you're buying a HomePath home, which is REO home, then they give priority to people who are living there. So even if there's an investor that wants to swoop and grab it off of you, they cannot. So that's how I got lucky with the house hack that I'm living in right now. So there's different things that you have to consider. If it works for you, then obviously do it, but it's competition, right? You're competing with other people who are eyeing that property as well.
With the 403s, as far as making it the primary residence, is it extended past the 12-month period that most traditional financing is, or is that pretty standard?
So you're asking about, what's your question?
If you do a 403
2 or 3,
rehab,
yeah.
as a primary residence,
Mhm.
are you required to live there more than a year?
Yes.
Okay.
You are required to live there for more than a year. I believe it's a year or 2 years.
It's a year.
Yeah, a year, okay. I'm still living there, so I don't know, like. Yeah, but there is strategy. There is another speaker here, his name's Seth. He does a house hack as well. He actually moved out of his after a year, and then his strategy was to you can actually keep doing it. You can refi your last one and then do it again, refi your last one, do it again. I don't know how many times you guys want to move though, but yeah. Yes.
Hector here. I got a question about 2 or 3 loan. So, ideally, I mean, you wanna do a duplex or triplex or,
Yeah.
whatever, extra space that you can, rent out,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
So, how, so since I'm a first-time home buyer, how many times I can, start all over again? Let's just say, ideally I wanna invest in my first duplex, and I wanna live there for 1 year. Can I go back and get another first-time home buyer status?
Yes, you can. So you can clear your FHA once you're refinanced, and then yes, you can do it again if that's what you're asking.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's a strategy itself. Yeah,
So how long you have to wait between?
a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi. So what are your options if you want to buy the duplex, live on one side, and you want to rehab the other side yourself? Like, I'm not a licensed contractor, but say you want to fix it up yourself. Is there any money out there for people like that?
For a 2 or 3K loan, no, because you need to be licensed,
Right.
and you cannot be, even if you are a licensed contractor, you cannot do the work.
Can't do it yourself.
No, even if you're a licensed contractor.
Just to follow up on this question, right? So I know that FHA loan is only use it once.
Speak up for us, please.
Oh, yes. So just to follow up from this question, I know that FHA loan is only use it once, as is a first home buyer's loan, right? So I believe are there any other loans that you can use if you want a house hack, from one house to another, like conventional loans and things like that?
Yeah, there are.
Repeat the question.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, out loud for everybody.
Yeah, so are there any other types of loans other than the FHA 2 or 3K loan? Yes, there are renovation loans. I'm not completely entirely familiar with some of them, but there are lenders here you guys can talk to. I'm sure they can answer that question. Yes.
In terms of, I have a question that I'll ask them the first question.
Sure.
Based on your answer. The house you were showing, that wasn't your primary residence, correct?
It was it's my primary
The one
residence.
that you used the 2 or 3K one?
Yes, that's my primary residence.
Okay, I thought it wasn't, but in any case,
This one right here
no, the
is
one,
not a 2 or 3K loan, by the way, guys. So this one right here was bought conventionally. This was not a 2 or 3K loan. They bought it conventionally. They did a $25,000 rehab, and like his numbers are crazy. I was like impressed. Yeah. But,
so my follow-up question was, having bought my primary residence, when I now do the 2 or 3K loan, let's say I'm doing it on a second property and trying to rent my second property, is there like a certain amount of equity I have to have in my primary home before I can get approved for the 2 or 3K loan?
for your second one, so you have to refinance your first one. Then once you refinance the first one, yes, you need to have a certain amount of equity.
And are there any numbers, like any percentages or?
So it depends on the lender. So I would say anything like 75% loan to value, something like that. Yeah, 80.
John?
Yes.
Another question for you. So, I was looking at a house, last Saturday, and, so the agent was like, well, the price of subject property was, $195. So I went to kinda like scout, the neighborhood, the house, since I didn't have an agent to, show it to me. So, I went back home, kinda crushed some numbers. So, based on the rehab costs, I was estimated somewhere around, 45 to 50 grand, just about like,
Okay.
$20 a square foot, give or take. So my question is, getting a 2 or 3K loan, what will be the percentage most lenders, would offer as to renovation costs?
Yeah, so it really doesn't make a difference on the renovation numbers because there's 2 types of loans or 2 types of renovations you can get. There's a streamlined 203K loan. So the streamlined 203K loan doesn't require, I believe, because I didn't use it. I used something that, because my renovation budget was high.
Yeah.
I believe the 203, the streamlined version, you don't need a consultant, I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you don't need a consultant,
Yeah.
but you can do something that is like lesser on the rehab,
Yeah.
budget.
The 203K loans are based on the after improved value of the property, aren't they?
Yes, because they appraise it.
Okay.
They appraise it. So you can't just say, hey, I have a house that needs, this amount of work. They need to actually appraise the number based upon the renovations that are being done, because the banks do need to protect themselves, right?
It's been years since I've dealt with the 203K. Is it at 125, 125% of the after improved value?
That part I don't entirely know,
What I
but
was trying to figure out is like, so since most bank cover, what, 70 to 80% max. So, I was trying to gauge,
yeah, I mean, I'll just recommend talking to a mortgage rep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that gets a little too
Yeah,
specific
tricky,
to your situation.
Okay.
But I know there was a question. You had a question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
sorry.
with the 2 and 3K, is there like a cutoff point from the price of the rehab where you would say, okay, this is a situation where you would use the 2 or 3K versus hard money or something out of pocket?
So is there a cutoff point between using hard money
How
and
significant the rehab is, where the 2 or 3K loan might not be the smartest option?
so to answer that question, man, can you rephrase your question in a way that I can kind of like?
Yeah, so just
Yeah.
from how significant the rehab is that you want to do on the property, is
Yeah.
there a cutoff point where you would say, okay, maybe I don't want to do a 2 or 3K, I want to just get FHA mortgage and then take out, hard money?
So from my experience, I would say doing a 2 or 3K loan would probably be way better than you doing hard money.
yeah,
100%. Because you're already paying 3 points typically. You're already paying 3 points up front for hard money, or 2, depending on your experience, maybe 1, I don't know. And then on top of that, you're paying 10%, right? And then you have to get out of that, right? You're only paying 3.5% to get into this.
yeah.
I spent $22,000 on a $380,000.
So with your house hack specifically, how intentional were you with crunching numbers? Because obviously with an $18,000 annual income, you're not probably going to be able to qualify for a $380,000 loan.
Right.
So did you?
My wife.
Okay.
W-2.
Okay, but did you analyze the numbers for after renovation rental income and then see what your ROI was going to be, or did the bank do that? Or?
Yeah, so he had a 2-part question. I don't know if you guys heard it. So he asked, how the hell did I get a house for $380,000 when I made $18,000 a year? My wife. So that was the first question. Second question was the numbers.
Yeah.
So I typically like to look at numbers through cash on cash return, right? That's my typical strategy. But as I told you guys, I didn't really look at the numbers when I first started because I did it out of necessity. I don't know if you guys walked in while I talked about, but I did it out of necessity because it offset the cost for my mortgage. So I was actually saving myself $275 a year, which is, or I was spending $275 right there.
Did you know that ahead of time?
Yes, that part, yeah, that part. It was just more of a common sense thing for me. I'll ask because you're new.
Still set up your business as like an LLC to own when house hacking, or what type of?
So I did not.
Repeat the question.
Yeah. So can you set your house as a LLC for a house hack? Man, you guys are asking good questions. I did not. I don't know if you can. I don't know how that works with FHA. To be honest with you, yeah, that's something that you might want to
works
ask.
properly with something
Yeah.
like that to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Having it under a business.
Right. But I don't know how that would work with an FHA, to be honest with you. So, yes,
You showed your closing cost at 22 or something.
right here.
Is there, does that include that 203K loan, or is there
Yeah.
separate costs for that?
Because look right here, the loan balance is 378 right here.
See it, by the way.
I'm sorry,
So that was for both?
you guys will get the
loans?
slides, but yeah.
That was for both loans,
Mm-hmm.
for closing?
So it was 190 for the purchase price, 190 for the renovation. Yes.
You're doing house hacking carrying the cost of the debt service. That's the reason, the whole reason for doing it. Is there a limit to the number on a multifamily? Is there a limit to the number of units that you can do a 2 or 3K in?
4. Yeah, so he asked what the limit was, it's 4. Because that's a conventional loan. If anything going above 4, it's a commercial. Yes.
So I understand you have to live in this as your primary residence,
Yes.
correct? Can you have your home office in there, or, you know, my husband and I both have our own businesses, we work out of home. Is that allowed with this kind of loan, to have your home
I
office?
I believe you can, as long as you live there. Yeah, because technically I have a small office space. I claim my taxes on that, so yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah.
John, question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, what do you do if you run into a subject property and you find out through the agent that the subject property, is an auction property? Can you,
Subject property is an auction property, can you
Yeah.
put a bid on it?
yeah,
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't.
cause the thing is,
Yeah.
I ran into a property that, the broker,
Yeah,
bought the deed,
yeah.
but, so he was like, well, you know, I don't wanna, have any transaction yet, with any wholesalers. I just want, first time home buyers, and I'm like, so how do you know? You didn't even know my needs.
Yeah, so sometimes you just have to be careful with some of those things because when you go through a 2 or 3K loan,
Yeah.
it's a mortgage. So as long as it falls under the guidelines of the mortgage company, then
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But there are certain things when you get an auction home
Yeah.
where either they don't accept the mortgage or
Yeah.
or there's some kind of
Yeah,
guidelines
'cause
in
he
the
was like,
auction.
cash only, and I was like,
Yeah, then you probably won't be able to bid on it unless it accepts some form of a mortgage. The
okay,
guidelines are all the same, like with mortgage-wise, the requirements.
okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, so you said find an experienced lender.
Yes.
So do you have a list of questions that you asked to find out to determine if they are experienced?
Mhm.
And then find an experienced agent. Is there a list that you trust, or where do we go to find these experienced agents? When we're not experienced.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So finding,
Repeat the question, John?
yeah, so she was asking what you're looking to do when you find an experienced lender as well as an experienced agent, right? I would suggest you looking for an experienced agent first, right? Because the experienced agent will quarterback you into all the other things here. And if you guys need references for any of these, I'm an experienced agent. So, shameless plug, but yes, I can help you. Yes.
I don't know if you covered this already. Were there any approvals that you needed to do the whole house hacking process, or you just buy your house and then just get funded?
Was there any approval for the house hacking process? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like from the FHA or
From the FHA? Yeah, so the same guidelines for the FHA apply whether it's a 2 or 3K loan or not. So it's the same, the Fannie Mae guidelines. Yeah. Yes.
When it comes to using FHA, how many times, because I know people like house hack multiple times,
Yes.
but I've heard of things of like FHA only being for first-time home buyers. How many times can you use FHA to house hack? What is the strategy to continually house hack?
Yeah, so what is the strategy of continuing to house hack? So you can house hack as many times as you want as long as you are able to get out of your FHA loan. So that's typically done by refinancing. So the example that I gave was the reason why I like to house hack is because I gain equity very quickly. So in order to get equity pretty quickly, you have to do some form of forced appreciation. What I mean by forced appreciation is renovations, right? If you take a crappy home and you make it nice, then naturally the prices of that house are going to go up.
But you can't get the FHA loan twice in a row, right? If you're not a first-time home buyer, like for the second time, you've already got a home.
Yeah, so the question was, can you get the FHA loan twice? No, you cannot get it twice. That's why you refinance. You have enough equity to refinance, you get out and then you go out, you look for another property,
Okay,
and then
so
you.
the refinance is the.
Exactly. Refinancing is your key to get out. Now here's the thing. I don't know how many times you guys want to keep going out of a house and then moving into another one, but that's the thing that I hear quite often from other house hackers. I stopped at one because I like the area that I lived in, so I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna stay here. And then it actually propelled me because you're already saving for me, I was saving over $20,000 a year. So that alone, a year, just once a year, you could buy a property, a rental property. Yes.
So springboarding off of that a little bit, house hacking seems like a convenient way to get your foot in the door. You mentioned it just 5 years ago, you went from having 0 units to 1 or 2 through house hacking. But now, you've got 17 or 18 conventions. How did house hacking set you up for that acceleration from 1 to the 18 just 5 years later? Sort of like, what does the scaling process look like?
Yeah, so he's asking, how did I scale? So I scaled because of mindset. Like, I really want to tell you guys, like, I'm not the smartest dude. Like, I got 1,000 on my SAT. Like, I barely almost, like, was able to, like, I got nervous today, too, by the way, if you didn't notice. I couldn't even remember some of my lines, so, like, yeah, like, I'm just a normal kid, man. Like, I just want to let you guys know. But, like, it's really mindset. Like, once you change and you shift your mindset, it really changes the way you think. And to answer that question is my first event that I went for Nick's event, it was all the way in Jersey. And I kept asking him questions, and I kept asking him questions. Now, I don't want to get off topic because my answer will be off topic, but I started using hard money. And if you guys want to, talk to me after, then I can tell you the strategy that I use for that. Maybe that's a different seminar, but I did use hard money to propel myself to get from 2 years. I think I got like 12 units in like 2 years because of that. Yes.
So with selling that fast, obviously, like, did you use property management, or were you just managing those properties on your own?
So I used like doing a house hack really teaches you a lot about managing properties yourself. So in the beginning, I was able to feel confident enough to manage the properties in the beginning. Now I'm at the point where as properties are starting to turn over, I am now delegating that to property management. Yes.
When you went out to look for a property, you looked for something where you had a value add situation so that you could have instant equity in it after the renovations. In order to scale, if you're going to stay in that property, then you have to go to another lender with the new equity that you have in the property, borrow against that for the down payment on the next property you buy. So is that basically what you did?
Yeah, so he's asking, did I use equity in my property once I had it? I did not. And the reason why I did not is because I had loans to pay off. So banks didn't want to give me a HELOC or anything like that. Now they will, but at the time they did not because I was submerged in debt. I just saved up. Yes.
So my question is then, if you're telling us to get the FHA loan, right, and then you said to get it out from under it, we would have to go refinance. And then I guess it kind of goes back to what he was saying, like, and then you said, no, you can't you had debt. So how do you get to refinance if the bank won't lend you any money? Who do you go to?
I never refinanced. I still have an FHA on mine. So for me, I guess you're trying to figure out how the heck did I get like so many properties. So
yeah, in general. So for like someone like, everybody here, if
Yeah.
you wanted to get from out under the FHA,
Yeah.
like you say refinance.
Right.
Refinance with who? And how would you go about that? That's what I mean.
yeah, so if you're gonna refinance, you can use any traditional lender or any mortgage company, and they'll get you out. My situation was different because I had high leverage. I had a lot of loans and stuff like that. But if your credit's good, if you guys are in good situation, then yes, you can refinance pretty easily. And it doesn't help when you have, for me, a 1099 job where my income is reported low, and you know, if you have a W-2 job, that's a beautiful thing, by the way. Like, definitely get as many loans as you can.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Yep.
Sorry.
No, keep asking. I really wanted to leave the floor for questions.
With the
Yeah.
Fed, in all likelihood, the Fed's going to continue raising interest rates going through 2023.
Yeah.
Which means that the mortgage cost on any property that you buy,
It's gonna go up.
in order to really have an ROI that supports a loan, it's going to be more difficult. So if you're not doing HELOCs, which is going to be cheaper, if you're not using the equity that you have in the property that you have, don't you see that, or would you say that it's going to be more difficult to find properties that are cash flowing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So at the time when I got into this, I think my rate was at around 3 or 4%. So yeah, rates are obviously different now. The situation definitely changes. So one thing you just have to consider is if you're living in the house, like, who cares? Like, honestly, because what you would have spent on a mortgage, what I would have spent on a mortgage for $2,500, I actually ended up saving $2,200, so that was over $20,000 a year that I was saving, and I saved it. It's not like I spent it, I saved it. And then I used that money and I leveraged that into hard money, and that's how I was able to continue to grow.
What was like the most painful experience you had to deal with through renovations and through property management today?
So he was asking what was my most painful experiences with property management and through the process of this.
Of renovation, because
Yeah.
you got 2 or 3K, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
Renovation and property management.
So my biggest problem, honestly, was me being inexperienced and not knowing anything. Like, I didn't know what a hammer was, guys. Like it was tough. Dealing with a contractor, one thing that I realized is, like, if you ever get a contractor and they give you a scope of work, right? Everything in that scope of work is exactly like what's gonna get done. They don't do anything extra. They don't, like, if it's like you have to read that scope of work to the T. And there was a lot of things that I verbally requested, like, hey, can you do that? And like, obviously he said yes, but when it came down to it, it wasn't done. The definition of finishing certain things wasn't obviously to my expectation because I didn't know any better. So it was a learning experience for me. I wouldn't recommend my contractor. So, like, that's one thing that I would say. But apart from that, I did learn a lot, and I think that was the price of tuition, if that makes any sense. And I think it was well worth it.
And then for property management?
Oh, for property management. So for property management, that for me, it goes all by references. So when you guys are part of the community here, I'm actually, like, involved with some of the events here. I volunteer as well. So you'll get to know people, and there are certain property managers that people are using. So again, there's references that I have for you guys if you guys need it. Again, my cell phone is up there, but please, like, be nice, all right? Yeah. Yeah. Say it again.
Do you have a list of hard money lenders?
Do I have a list of hard money lenders? I do, but this is about house hacking, so I'll be able to share that with you though. No problem. Yes.
Aren't there 2 different types of 2 or 3K loans? One of them will pay out 10% at closing upfront, and the other one, I believe, is the standard, but I can't remember the name of the one that pays out 10% upfront.
So that's a question you might want to ask your mortgage company, because again, the one that I used was just like a full renovation, and then I'm not sure when you came in, but I talked about a streamline. So a streamline is typically like around $35,000 it stops, and then you don't need a 2 or 3K consultant for that. So it depends for the cost of the renovation. Sorry, I keep forgetting to repeating the question, so if you guys don't hear it, just like, say you don't hear it, yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Well, yeah, guys, well, thank you so much. My contact information, oh, shoot, the slide went out, but if you need to contact me, you know, obviously I can give you my cell phone. I'm on Facebook, I'm Instagram, I do have TikTok, I'm a millennial, so yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah,
Thank
all
you.
right, yeah, absolutely. Yep.